Welcome back to Founder Mode.
One thing we've learned doing this show 40 times now is that the same problems keep showing up, just in different clothes.
Different industries, different stages, different personalities, but the pressure's the same.
Yeah, you're trying to make decisions with incomplete information, limited time, and real consequences.
What actually helps isn't another framework, it's hearing how other builders think when things get messy.
So what you're about to hear are the moments where people stopped posturing and just talked about what worked and what didn't, and what they do differently.
If something here makes you uncomfortable, that's probably the point. Healthcare exposes bad assumptions fast.
Yeah, Rebecca has lived inside real implementations, not demos, not decks.
She explains why Go Live isn't the end of the work. It's where the real learning begins.
Well, one, it's the theory that people think that Go Live is the finish line. Like, Go Live is not the finish line. Go Live is when you actually get to do the testing. And so that's where you create a bottleneck, is that you are like, we're good. We've gone through 1 week of Go Live. Everything's working. We don't need to make any more changes. But that's actually where the magic happens, is through that Go Live.
A lot of teams fail for reasons that never show up in a roadmap.
Anurag argues we don't just teach the most basic relationship skills, and then we're surprised when things break.
Yeah, this is one of those ideas that sounds obvious once you hear it.
I mean, it's a huge thing, right? Yeah, and I think we are doing a very ill service to the boys in our community, in our society, where we're not pushing them, we're not empowering them to go take risk. You know, like I was just talking to my wife actually yesterday, and I'm like, I don't understand why in school there isn't a course on interpersonal effectiveness. So I'll give an example. Dialectical behavioral therapy was one of the very popular therapeutic modality, has a section called interpersonal effectiveness. And it literally teaches frameworks on how to build relationships. So for example, there's a skill called the give skill. It stands for be gentle, act interested, validate, and use an easy manner. I can guarantee you in every single interaction, if you use this with your wife, with your kids, or your spouses, it will exponentially increase the quality of relationship.
There's a temptation right now to add AI everywhere.
Yeah, John tells a story about what happens when you do that before you've earned user trust.
It's a lesson a lot of founders learn the hard way.
I've got a very good friend, a very close friend who I spent, a couple hours one day really trying to talk him out of the new direction for his business, not a new feature. Okay. This was like, when users log into my thing, they're going to see this now instead. And I was like, dude, please, man, this like isn't right. Like, why don't you try a little bubble to see if they want to use it? Pop up a little bubble. Do you want to try this feature and do some kind of like super scaled down version of it? So this is a few weeks ago. He launched this just a couple weeks ago. Users didn't like it. They didn't trust it. The feedback came in. I don't like AI. AI is dumb, right? He's not building for tech founders, right? He's got like ordinary people as his users. And so it's gone now. This feature he spent a couple weeks building, it no longer exists. The new direction for his business looks a lot like the old direction of his business now. So I would do a lot more research, talk to your customers before you try to fly.
This is one of my favorites. This company got acquired after we interviewed him. I gotta think we had something to do with that. Pricing feels very simple when a category is young.
Scott explains why it gets harder over time and why usage ends up being the only signal that really matters.
This reframes how you think about value.
The main thing I would just say is complexity increases as industries age. That's like my main prediction. And I do think the good thing about usage is that there's nothing really more fine-grained than that I can think of. Like, outcomes are just a flavor of usage. It's like your outcome is my usage. Like, it's not, these aren't different. They're just the same. And ultimately it kind of redounds to this like stream of things that happened in your product that you and I agree on, and I choose this, I value them at this, and you charge me that. And it's like kind of that's to me like the terminus of all this stuff, is that it will all be that, and then it will be reconstructed in fancy packages.
Founders love a full calendar.
Bobby calls that out for what it usually is: avoidance.
This is about protecting thinking time before the business outgrows you.
Allowing yourself the time to think and actually make yourself better is more important than having a busy calendar. You know, people probably look at the day and you want to back-to-back calls with like 6 different people, and then you're talking to this guy from the UFC and this guy from a sports agent, and you know, you're talking to what event can we do? And like you're just being a busy fool. You know, realistically, all those books everyone buys and you never read, so probably better taking a bit of time to read one of them, and you never know what might come into your head. So I think like keeping yourself busy enough so you're not itching to get on other calls, but you definitely need to have time to think as about it, because ultimately the business wouldn't be there without you.
Everyone says they're AI first.
Honker has a test that cuts through the noise.
If you can't turn real user pain into learning fast, none of it matters.
The most important thing that I like to ask people is, if I use your app and I complain, how much effort is it for you to take that complaint and turn it into an eval? And the best teams, it's like 1 or 2 clicks, if that. The teams that are NGMI, they haven't even thought about the answer to that, right? And so I think that's really the goal. Like, can you get to a point where it's 2 clicks from someone complaining to something ending up in your evals?
This one's just us.
We kept circling back to the same idea. Discipline breaks down in broken systems.
Health isn't solo, and neither is work.
You've come up with this pretty good idea that you've shown me around developing, board of directors for decision making, and you have like this board of directors for your health now. Talk about how you've set that up.
Yeah, so I mean, again, everybody's got their like, amazing prompt for chat, and the thing that I stumbled onto this of like somebody had written like this council sort of approach. I was like, oh, that's interesting, this council, and I was like, oh, it's kind of like a board of directors, and so I was like, well, a board of directors is interesting because like if you imagine like in a company's sake, they'll have like 5 people, 7 people, 13 if it's bigger, whatever, and they each have their own experiences and expertise. And so I was like, well, if I'm thinking about my health, like I want somebody that's interested in like, exercise, somebody that's interested in longevity, somebody that's interested in like cardiac experts for like heart, somebody that's interested in like men's health, somebody that's interested in like all these things, and saying like, who would be like a world renowned expert to have on your panel?
Private equity often gets caricatured into just cost cutting.
Jason looks at it from the operator's chair, where outcomes actually get created.
AI changes the dynamic when you start with real problems instead of tools.
AI has turned that on its head and say, let's look at your problems and let's help you solve the problems the way that you already know how to do them, and do it faster, do it better, do it cheaper, do it in a way that actually helps create more win-wins for you and for your customers.
Shipping AI inside an enterprise is a different game, especially one as large as Microsoft.
Yeah, Sonia talks about the gap between impressive demos and systems people will trust with core workflows.
Governance ends up being the unlock.
What we learned was it ended up being one of our key differentiation. What we learned was if you give enough governance and control and transparency around it, it actually helped the RPA developers to actually adopt it.
Consumers recalibrate faster than founders expect.
My buddy Max, Instacart co-founder, explains how magic turns into table stakes.
Your customers are also consumers, and they are using ChatGPT, Gemini, and all the other AI assistants that are out there. And so they're getting used to having these magical experiences. So it's becoming actually just table stakes for you to have these kind of magical experiences in your product too.
Building software has never been cheaper.
Natalie argues that doesn't make it easier. It shifts where the real difficulty actually lives.
The biggest issue is understanding what the client wants, because oftentimes the clients don't know themselves what they want. Right. So being able to clearly understand the problem and clearly articulate the solution is the biggest value, for instance, that Jet Rockets brings to its clients. Right. So I think that, yes, absolutely, we're going to use Lovable and Replit and like other tools to generate commodity apps that, sort of like input in, output, data in, data out, something very basic, maybe like, I don't know, like a wish list registry for your wedding, that you want to send to your friends and family instead of using something online and stuff like that. Something very basic, simple, that does not require a whole lot of thinking, processing, what if scenarios, etc. The moment things get a little bit more complex, AI is so far away from even like getting anything done right now.
Decarbonization conversations usually jump straight into the end state.
Kevin explains why hybrid aviation is the bridge that actually earns trust.
It's like these expanding horizons where hybrid is a bridge into the fully electric opportunities of the future. And you better believe that those operators who are flying the 100-mile hybrid electrics today are probably going to rely on the trusted brands that they already know in electrification when they go and switch to fully electric. And that's the position that Ampere is taking, which is start with electrification, build trust, and then whenever battery technology and infrastructure makes sense, we can transition over to fully electric for those customers too.
Most conference booths disappear into the background.
We tried to do the opposite and then actually measured whether it worked. We did the math, like 10 to 20% of all conference attendees came to our booth.
Well, not just scanned it, like actually
They scanned their badge.
engaged.
So going back to my question, what's the goal? To build relationships, get new business, grow the business, get new customers. You've already integrated with this platform, right?
Yeah.
Healthcare moves slowly until it doesn't.
Max points to where adoption exploded because the pain was undeniable.
So AI scribes have been the fastest adopted technology in the history of healthcare, period. Health systems and healthcare in general have really long sales cycles. Those have basically been cut in half in AI. McKinsey just put out a report last week, the State of AI 2025. Healthcare is like third or fourth in terms of agentic adoption and general AI adoption. And before that, Menlo Ventures put out a report a couple of weeks ago that healthcare is well above average, the industry average across all industries in terms of adoption. Health systems are leading the pack there because they have these real problems with provider burnout. So you see the scribes getting adopted, RCM collecting that dollar I spoke about earlier. They're doing real things. Like it's not just hype, like maybe the valuations and some of that causes folks to go to that thought, but there's real stuff happening in a lot of transformative companies too.
Most founders default to venture because it's familiar.
Tim explains why that habit quietly erodes ownership.
I think a lot of founders really just leave that on the table, and it's money that's set aside because it's just such a pain to get to it. So they just go after the next VC round and keep stacking on dilutive. These are capital intensive businesses. So those founders are exiting with a sliver of their company left.
We talk a lot about focus.
Austin is building something that forces the issue through design.
Yeah, we sell more than just a phone. We're selling the real life back, whether that's connections in one way or another. And for us in our online community, we're trying to bring people together who are all on this journey of trying to achieve their goals. And our phone is the mean for helping with that goal. And for us, that is a community. Like a lot of minimal phones, it could be a very lonely experience because you think you're in it alone. And for us, we're trying to put them together and bring people together and bring ideas together and make everyone feel supported and a part of, okay, I'm not doing this alone.
Aviation doesn't forgive sloppy decisions.
Max explains why stress and judgment don't mix.
If you have way too many stresses, you've got some of the life kind of things going on, changing job or divorce or any of those major kinds of things, that's not the time to go flying because that's too much stress and you won't focus on the things that you need to do.
Unlimited sounds pretty generous.
Jonathan breaks down why it's really a math problem.
It was almost like it's like a gym membership where there's a couple of meatheads that are there all the time, and then I have a membership I should go more often, and you kind of bank on the fact that not everybody shows up at once.
If you want to learn fast, remove the safety nets.
Racer Allen explains why raw environments teach faster.
Formula Car is the best platform to be able to learn from because of the fact that there is no traction control.
It's just you're just you in the car.
And the correct technique, there's a specific technique to driving
a
car that needs to be covered off. And what you can learn in our school in Formula Cars apply to other different types of cars.
If there's a through line in all of this, it's not about AI, healthcare, pricing, or flying planes.
It's about learning how to make calls when there isn't a right answer.
Where to push, when to wait, when to walk away from something that looks good on paper.
And when to trust yourself enough to keep going anyway.
If one of these moments stuck with you, go listen to the full conversation.
And if Founder Mode has been useful to you, do us a favor, subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone else who's building.
It helps more than you think.
And that's it for today. Remember, demos don't matter, production does. We'll see you next time on Founder Mode.